Rob Manfred has spoken. Opening day postponed. Until when? Try to figure that out. The Baseball Insider starts right now. All right, Robert Murray, I'm going to say something that's not going to be very popular to start this podcast. I don't care that there's not baseball on March the 31st. The baseball season is too long. It's forever. 162 games. I'm good with 140 games. My issue is there better be baseball on May 1, and there better be baseball that has the fans in mind. I loved hearing from Rob Manfred talking about banning the shift and trying to actually make the game more fun to watch. That was cool. But Rob Manfred, if there isn't baseball on May 1, then you need to fire yourself. That's where I'm at on this. I really don't care about missing opening day. I know that everyone on Twitter, everyone everywhere seems really angry. To me, this is how much damage are they going to do? Because now you do have the players are super pissed and more emboldened. So I do think it's at least remotely on the table that we may not have a baseball season at all. So, Bert, by the way, good to see you. Where are you at with all of this? You had a tweet that went bananas yesterday about some player that you talked to who did not have nice things to say about Man Clown, as many players are calling him.
Yeah. So first off, good to see you, Carm. I have thoughts. I've had a lot of coffee today, and it's going to be a great episode. And I agree that the baseball season is too long. I am not a guy that I fully believe that it should not be 162 games, but the path that it's going to take for it to not be 162 games this year is just awful. This should have never happened. Major League Baseball waited 43 days to get serious about this negotiation and try to pin this on the players and try to turn this into a PR battle in which Major League Baseball got absolutely destroyed, and the public and basically everybody in baseball is on the players' side because of it. And Rob Manfred completely deserves the criticism that he's receiving behind the scenes, publicly from players. It is probably the saddest time I've ever seen in baseball, and the complete outrage from everybody is warranted, justified. And that tweet that you ended up mentioning, where I had I asked the player for a reaction, Rob Manfred smiling after canceling the first 6 games of the season. And his response was, "Are you talking about the guy who cut 42 minor league teams and called the World Series trophy a hunk of metal?" And he said that, and it was just like, damn, like the players have completely turned on Rob Manfred. And I don't think there's any possibility for him to get their trust and their belief back in him.
So that's the thing, right? They're supposed to meet again on Thursday, and he's come up with all these reasons that you can't have opening day.
Yeah.
How do you, if you're him, if I'm Rob Manfred, right, and I'm sitting in my Rob Manfred room by myself at night, how do you rebuild the bridge that hasn't just been blown up? It's like every bit of like ashes has also been crushed into nothing, if that makes any sense what I just said. Like it's going to be very hard. That's to me the biggest issue that he has and the owners have right now in coming back to the players to have some level of there's goodwill in the room and let's make a deal and maybe you just don't have to have that at all, I guess. And okay, let's just go cold hard facts. What's it going to take to get it done? But I do think there's in some way, shape, or form, if I'm him, I'm trying to build some level of a bridge back of goodwill to the players.
Yeah, and that bridge to try to get that goodwill back is going to be a long freaking road because that trust is completely fractured at this point. And there was actually some momentum toward a deal late into the night. They eventually ended up extending the deadline to try to complete a deal. And then in their final proposal of the night, according to Ross Stripling via Shai Davidi, a terrific beat writer for the Blue Jays, Stripling said that Major League Baseball tried to put in some different language into their proposal to try to like fool the players at like 12:30 at night.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, which if that's actually true, and like there's no reason to doubt Stripling, like holy shit. Like, I mean, that can't happen.
Scummy. It's it's bad. And if you read all the people like Ken Rosenthal, it's not that the owners want to quote unquote win the deal. They want to crush the players in essence. They don't want to give them anything. They want to, sure, we'll pay the minimum to first year players more, but we're going to suck that out of the middle of the game. We'll still pay Mike Trout his big money, but we're going to try to curtail that too on the top end. But basically, they're just trying to reshuffle the deck and who gets what, but not actually pay out any more. And it is pretty like stunning that like baseball's average salary, not when you look at the I guess the mean or the median, it's lower than the NHL. It's lower than the NBA and the NFL. Like lower than the NHL. Come on, baseball. That does not add up, dude. That doesn't add up at all.
No, it doesn't. And that's something the players like one of many things they're absolutely infuriated about is those low salaries, and they haven't gone up as inflation has happened and as the owners are making significantly more money than they have in the past. And the owners, as you said, they're trying to completely destroy the players in this deal. They're not just trying to win it, but they're trying to like take the players behind the woodshed. And the players are adamant. And there was a consensus in that room that they were not going to accept a deal unless it was significantly better than the deal they have now. And they want to set the players up like this year for future success, but they also want to set up those players in the future for like long-term success as well, both financially and just like in all aspects of their career. And it's such a sad time for the game of baseball, Carm. Like I've heard from dozens upon dozens of people who are just like completely crushed. And I saw you text yesterday that you wondered if it was like, wait, how did you phrase it? I want to make sure I have that right.
Which text you're referring to? Is it a tweet or a text?
It was a text.
I don't remember what I said to you, Bert.
You thought it was posturing.
Oh yeah. Well, look, if they want to play a full season, they still can.
Yeah.
They absolutely still can. They created an artificial deadline here now as to when they have to cancel opening day, when it's got to be done by. Now he's artificially, even though he's making it real, canceling games, which, by the way, if we want to rewind back to early days of the Baseball Insiders, I believe we're still in them. But I told you, Bert, look, we saw how it played out in the pandemic. They don't want to pay players for April and May because fans don't come out. Now, I can't believe that baseball would be that short-sighted that they would like literally cause, maybe they'd be willing to do the deal the players want a little bit later just to avoid spending a little bit in April when crowds are sparse. But that just would speak to being terrible businessmen, which doesn't make sense if you've become a billionaire. But when you've inherited, your money and you've just been born into it, well, maybe you aren't a good businessman. You would do something that's stupid. I don't know. It's when you look at the numbers that are being put out there, to me, it's like just half it and be done. Like, I think it's very basic. The players were folded on a lot of their stuff. So to me, a deal should have happened. I have a lot going on over here, Bert. A deal should have happened. One, the season's too long. Two, so I'm not going to be up in arms about this.
Yep.
As long as they get it done fairly soon. Three, there's this. I'm a little confused by the push out there. Like the players aren't making enough. The players are making a ton of money. $575,000 or $625,000 is a lot for a first year player. I get the fact that we're that there's a lot of money in the game, but I'm not going to lose sleep if somebody who got to baseball for a year doesn't, can't retire. Like,
Mhm.
you to be able to retire just playing baseball, you got to be really good at baseball. And if you made it for a couple of days or 1 year, then you're not good enough. All right, go ahead, Bird. What do you got?
Yeah, and like I totally hear you on that, Carm, but there's a lot of players that are not making that kind of money. And they're also like in these CBA talks, they're trying to help out the minor league players too, who are making 14 or $15,000 a year and like
Agreed. That's
live
wrong.
paycheck to paycheck.
That's
Um,
wrong. They should make a regular living wage for a minor league season. I agree, 100%.
yeah, no, and like and I okay, I'm glad we agree on that one, but like this is not posturing by anyone. Like there is a legitimate gap in negotiations, and this should not have happened one bit whatsoever. And
Agreed.
the fact that it did happen is disgraceful. Like they ended up making changes of free agency to arbitration expansion to major revenue sharing change, but they did not move on the CBT, which was the primary issue of this entire negotiation. And they started at what, like 2 days before the actual like quote unquote deadline. And there was some players on like that were part of the negotiations who thought that deadline was not a real thing and that they could have extended it a little bit later so they could actually like start the season on time. But Major League Baseball ended up implementing that deadline, and it's just they ultimately did not come to a deal. And there is both sides agree that the earliest they can start negotiations is on Thursday. But I can tell you from talking to people throughout the league, there is significant concern that those negotiations could start later on, and that this could end up delaying it by a week or two, if not more, which should be extremely bad. I don't know if that's actually going to be the case, but that is a concern that I've heard from multiple people throughout the league. We'll see if that's actually the case, but if that is indeed what is going to happen, we're looking at probably a May or a June start. And I know I mentioned that deadline or that time frame in the early episodes of the lockout. I thought that may be a little bit too drastic, but that's looking like reality right now.
Yeah. Okay. May's fine. June's not. It's
June's
also June is not okay. Too long. The amount of water under the bridge at that point is going to be enormous. By the way, I don't know why I'm trying to be somewhat positive for you, Bird, here, but this is the first time in 27 years, 27,
Yep.
that we're getting a delay in games and missing opening days. So that's a long run of labor peace. I mean, it really is. It's over a quarter century. And it used to be when I was a kid, it was happening basically. It seemed like it was every other damn year there was a strike. So they've had a good run here since 94, 95, and the nightmare that was canceling the World Series. So there's that. But now you also have Bruce Meyer, who is representing the players. He's insisting that players should be paid for the full 162 games. That seems like this, just the way the players are, and I see guys like Anthony Rizzo coming out. We're doing this for the future generations, and other players and who you mentioned earlier. It's like you just poked at the bear, and these guys, there's a lot. The players have a ton of dough. It's the owners have more, but the players, if they really wanted to support their fellow players who need money right now, they certainly have enough if they're willing to do it to get through a season of not playing. There's got to be enough money laying around if guys want to, really actually band together and try to take down the owners in this, which I think would be on some level super cool to see.
Mm-hmm.
We're not giving in. Screw you, big dude.
Mm-hmm.
You want to go this way? We're not playing. Go throw out Robert Murray and Carm on the field and see how many people come out. You can talk front of the jersey all you want, Yankees, Cubs, Red Sox, White Sox, whoever, but they come to see me, buddy. They come to see me hit bombs, not somebody just in a uniform. I would be missing baseball. That would suck, but I would. If the players really actually and you heard about how they're supporting each other, I think that would be partly cool.
Yeah, and we've seen it in the past too. I can't remember the exact circumstance, but David Price ended up giving a lot of money to like certain players who were impacted and ended up losing a lot of money. And wouldn't surprise me if it happens again. I have not heard any talk about that, but like wouldn't shock me one bit. And the players are rallying around one another. And there is never, in my time in covering baseball, which has been probably about 8 years now, I've never seen a players this united ever. Behind the scenes, publicly, they have a message. It's consistent, and that they're with each other and they're standing with one another. So this lockout to me is not going to end anytime soon unless the players end up getting closer to what they want. And I don't see them budging. Their front, both publicly and privately, has been strong. And I think the owners have to make some significant concessions here to like actually like get some momentum here.
4 key areas the players wanted: getting paid more earlier in their careers, which, according to Rob Manfred, the owners agree with. Mm-hmm. Fixing the service time manipulation, that absolutely, and Rob Manfred back saying like, hey, if we bring you up past opening day and you win the Rookie of the Year, then you get the full year. Dude, that's not what it should be. You shouldn't have to win the Rookie of the Year to get the full season, which, by the way, delaying the season this way, you're messing with guys' service time right now. So that's one thing they could give back. Whenever this thing ends, you should get the full year. That's a no-brainer to me. Maybe you don't get paid for all the games, but you should get the full year of service. Preventing teams from tanking and removing restraints on free agency. I mean, you have to be with the players on this. Like, yeah. All of those are it's very fair. They're not asking for something that's ridiculous at all.
No, and that's why they're so adamant about it, is because like they want to have a fair deal. And in the past, they have not had those fair deals. And you hear those issues, and if they don't get all 4 of them, then Tony Clark failed. And I've heard from probably a dozen agents in the last day who have said this is the most important negotiation for the players in league history. And if Tony Clark fails to get everything that they want, then they need to find a new guy to head the Players Association.
Is there confidence in Tony Clark from the players, from what you know?
In the past, I heard wavering things. I've heard similar wavering things about Clark and Bruce Meyer from different people around the league. On the players' side, I should say. But I think most of them believe in what Tony Clark is preaching to them and what they're trying to get from Major League Baseball. But do I think he ends up getting everything that he wants? My guess is no. And that is going to, I don't know what that's going to end up looking like in terms of a deal, but that's just my gut feel.
Can Theo Epstein get in here and save this?
I don't think so.
Who is going to move the needle here? How much of this is owners and are not aligned with each other, and Manfred's got to take the bullets for the fact that the owners are not together?
Yeah, that's the $1 million question. I don't. Okay, wait. I want to make sure I'm understanding you correctly. Can you
you've got. There's the big market owners and there's the small market owners, and everybody's got to share revenues, right? And so the guy who owns the Pirates is not going to be wanting the same thing as the guy that owns the Yankees. So it's whereas, from a player's standpoint, Mike Trout's not going to have the same needs as the 4A player. But Mike Trout might be able to look out for the 4A player because he's Mike Trout and he's never going to ever think about money again other than the next thing he's going to buy. Mm-hmm. Ownership's a little bit different. I keep on hearing that the owners might not be aligned and that Manfred's taking bullets, and he certainly is taking bullets.
Yeah, and Manfred is taking a billion bullets here. Like, he is public enemy numero uno among fans and players. And you even see Marcus Stroman saying that Manfred's got to go. And I've heard the similar things that you have, that the owners are not aligned. But in terms of getting a deal done, they need to have at least 22 owners agree and say yes to it, and they can have at least 8 owners say no. in order for a deal to get done. So while there may not be that alignment, they don't have to have a vast consensus of among owners to get a deal done. So like that part doesn't faze me, but if I would imagine that one owner who's going to oppose this is going to be Steve Cohen, because what they're negotiating right now are like some of the things that they've negotiated would like impact him pretty heavily here.
What about the fans here, Bert?
Yeah.
How do you feel about the playoffs going from 10 to 12 to even maybe 14 teams?
14 teams would have been way too much. Like that should not be a thing. I think 12 is a good number. It's certainly better than 14. I liked 10 if we're being real, but 12 is a better scenario than 14. And it still incentivizes teams to be competitive and try to compete. And the players in that sense for the 12 games or 12 teams rather than 14, they wanted teams to be incentivized by trying to win in the regular season and try to win their division rather than getting in as like a wild card and then advancing as deep into the postseason so they can try to spend more money, give the players more money during the regular season.
I mean, there's the conversation about the integrity of the 162 game season. And if you're going to have 14 teams in the playoffs, then you're making already meaningless 162 games even more meaningless, because you're going to have half the damn league in the playoffs. So I think that's a fair argument. But I do like my team being in the playoffs and having a chance at that. So I guess games in September will be more meaningful.
Mm-hmm.
But it just does not feel in integrity with the game at all.
And this thing right here, Carm, is it's both the owners and the players getting more of what they want. Is the players get they get to like be incentivized by trying to win in the regular season and like having that. What the hell is the word?
It's just a money grab though, dude. That's all it is.
Exactly. And like that's the owners are getting more money by having more teams in the playoffs. The more money they get, which is exactly what they want. That's why they wanted 14 and they ended up compromising at 12.
So, but it's just disgusting to hear that talk. Like, got to get to 14 teams in the playoffs because all the money's in the playoffs and TV networks pay us the most in the playoffs. And by the way, we can miss the first part of the season because all of our TV contracts, from what I've read, like 25 games they can take off the schedule and still get the same amount of TV money. So you don't buy a baseball team, at least in my mind, because it's a great financial thing, even though franchise values have gone through the damn roof. You buy it because you're filthy rich. You love the sport. You want your family to have a sweet life where they can go and sit in a suite and root for a baseball team. And you don't sweat the small stuff like what baseball is sweating right now. It's just sad that people are, the greed here is disgusting, really. And I don't like, from a fan standpoint, I don't think you should care about it if the minimum for a player is $575 or $725 or $1 million. I don't understand a fan who would like lose any sleep. They got to get $1 million for their first year. Like whatever it is from a fan standpoint, at least in my mind, is fine. But there's not enough conversation about what's best for the fans here, as far as watching the game itself.
Mm-hmm.
Balls in play, time of game. To me, like the whole split doubleheader thing that they've done in baseball, day-night doubleheaders, is complete and utter BS and a middle finger to the fans.
Especially the 7-inning games. It's awful.
Right. You clearly don't care and are going to try to squeeze every bit of dollars out of all of us. And my recommendation, no fans are going to boycott baseball, and they're going to have less attendance because of this, but no one's going to boycott. I really do hope if they have a split doubleheader that the only seats that are purchased for that game are those that were season tickets. Like, no one should go to that game. or either of them. There should be a fan boycott of that in my mind. No split double headers, 7 innings, so you guys can make up for lost money because of this lockout. That's a complete and utter insult to anybody who's ever paid for a baseball ticket.
You're preaching to the choir, Carm, and the fans have been massively impacted by this entire thing, and it freaking sucks because you see the NFL and the NBA continuing to grow, you see other sports continuing to grow, and you get Major League Baseball at its highest level with Commissioner Rob Manfred and the owners. It's like the amount of times I've heard the phrase "they don't care about this game" is too many to count. And not only are baseball people believing that, but like the fans are believing that, and they're like, Manfred is giving them absolutely no reason to doubt that sentiment. If anything, he's actually like made them even more strongly believe that. And it's not that just the fans who are being impacted by this, it's baseball people who are being impacted by it too. I'm not talking to players. I'm talking executives. I'm talking agents. The amount, like I've heard from different people who are concerned about whether or not they're going to be able to continue in this game because of it, because of all the lost money that they're going to end up getting. And
well, I mean, people in the minor leagues are not continuing because there are franchises that don't exist. Vendors, parking attendants, stadium workers who depend on the dough, greatly impacted and have been impacted with the pandemic.
Stadium vendors too, like all the the game by game employees at the stadiums are being impacted too. And like I had an agent who was like actually like works at a big firm text me, I don't know what I would do if I'm not in baseball. And like there's a lot of concern for like these people's jobs. And I had one agent text me as we're on like recording this episode that there are going to be a lot of small and mid-level agencies that if this thing extends long enough, they're going to end up going belly up. And there's some of them who have been preparing for this for years because they've seen this exact scenario like playing out, and it's now reality. And these people are fearing for their careers, and that sucks.
Yeah, no, a lot of people rely on the game, and it will be back at some point. And to what you just said there, I'm not trying to be super callous here, but it's like y'all had to know this was coming. I mean, it sucks, but this is no surprise. I mean, we've been talking about it for a while. I think, I predicted June back in the day, and that we would be missing games until. So I listen. I hope that we get through this soon, Bert. I hope that. But here's another thing, like. Baseball doesn't need to be the most popular sport for you, baseball fan, to enjoy baseball. It just that part of it, like, oh, it's fading back from the NFL and it's fading back from the NBA. Yeah, it is. The NFL is way more popular right now. It's not close, and you're never climbing over the NFL again. The NFL's had a ton of terrible publicity, ton of it. But you know why? The NFL, why no one cares? Because they love the damn product on the field. They like seeing their quarterbacks. They love their fantasy football. You can't have a more messy situation than Colin Kaepernick and everything that went on around the game, and just politics and everything being messed into football. But come Sunday, everyone's watching because it's a great product on the field. People like to be entertained. Baseball's product sucks. It's the worst product they've put on the field in the history of the game. I mean, at least in my lifetime, for sure. So that should be more of the focus of the conversation that's going on right now. Nobody wants to watch some muscled up dude fire 98-mile-an-hour fastballs and yet another guy strike out and walk back to the bench. It's bad. It's boring. It's not the best of the game. Ball in play, dudes hit and run, stealing bases, excitement, not analytics being played out on the field. That needs to be the biggest part of the conversation. And otherwise, the game is, the game will just continue to shrink, and less young people are going to be interested in it because they'll turn it on and be like, why am I watching this dude stand at the plate when I know he's going to strike out and or he's going to walk and this is supposed to excite me? The only thing that'll excite him is I'm outdoors, it's summertime, and I'm drinking a beer, which you can do at a minor league game or an independent league game. So it's just a problem. To me, that's the biggest issue.
Yeah, and that is a major issue, and it needs to be corrected because the game baseball is an analytically driven game now, and the human element is being taken out of the game at a pretty rapid pace. I think you'd agree with that, right?
What's that?
Human elements being taken out of the game at a pretty rapid pace.
Well, when you limit the minor leagues, you know, we're gonna be judging everybody who gets to the majors by how hard they throw. That's going to be it. How fast is he? How far, you know, what's the exit velocity versus like, oh, this Kyle Hendricks guy who throws 88 and was a Cy Young Award candidate. That dude is not going to be able to progress through the system if there isn't a system.
Exactly.
And
they're going to be lost.
Right.
Yeah, and it sucks. We're going to be missing out on a lot of different players that we most likely would have never missed out on. And like props to the players for fighting as hard as they did, because Major League Baseball really wanted to like wipe out a lot more of the minor leagues than they actually did. And that would have like, because I mean, obviously there's a lot of really talented players that get drafted in the early rounds, but like there's a lot of gems that are found in the late rounds that we would have never seen. Baseball has a lot of issues that need to be corrected, Carm. And we could end up taking probably 3 hours to go through them all if we wanted to. I'm thankful I'm not part of these negotiations because my head would probably explode.
I think we got to get you in there, Bert. Let's get you in there.
Well, I'll start screaming and shouting and throwing bananas at everybody, and we'll start. That'll get some headway going.
There you go. Well, here as we do the same podcast that we've done for the last however many months now, with the non-surprising news. Although baseball did take you on a bit of a roller coaster, they're getting close. They're getting closer. John Heyman had a report out there, our guy, that it's awful close. And then that was refuted like literally 15 seconds later on Twitter by, yeah, no, that's not right. So, and Bob Nightingale's been getting fed information apparently from Rob Manfred himself, which was an interesting overnight on Twitter. Look, the roller coaster was nice, but where we ended up is where everybody expected we ended up. And now to me, like, how long are we going to be here? How long are you going to do this? Because if you come out next week and the season starts on April 15th, people will forget about this real damn fast. But if it goes on for a long time, you're going to have you're going to have a lot of empty ballparks, and it'll be awful cheap to go to a baseball game, but you might be just, it'll be like you're going to the library and, sitting by yourself.
So, I can tell you, Carm, we're not starting on April 15th. There is absolutely no chance. I'm very confident this is going to be a mid-May to like a June start. And like, as we've said, the June start would be an absolute freaking killer to the game. And that's a very realistic possibility right now.
It won't kill the game, Bert. It'll hurt the game in the short term. It won't kill it if they make some significant changes to make the on-field product better.
Okay, killing the game, that was too strong on my end, but MLB continues to kick itself in the balls here. That's the only way I can really phrase it properly.
You're not helping yourself, and then ultimately the players are going to make less money. The owners are going to make less money. The game's going to be less popular. Game's not going anywhere though. Game's always going to be around. It's not going to disappear. So, there's just a lot of anger out there, and I get it. But first time in 27 years, they're having a negotiation. Negotiations are ugly.
Mm-hmm.
If they get it done, and whatever, May 1, May 15, no big deal. It's in the long term. Feels like a big deal now, but it won't be a big deal. It'll be nothing, really. What you don't want is and what chance would you put on this, Bird? 1994 Part 2. We have no season, no postseason. What percentage are you giving on that?
2%.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't see any scenario where that actually plays out. If that's the case, oh boy.
That's your concern. You can't have 94 part 2. They canceled the World Series in August. It was truly incredible. I mean, for those of us who lived through it, like the White Sox were incredible that season. They had gone to the playoffs in 93. They were rolling in 94. The Expos were fantastic. Things you'll never get back. Montreal Expos don't damn ass exist. And that White Sox, what would have happened? Yeah. And you played the season all the way to August, and then here comes the strike, and they can't figure it out. And then they had, like, I just remember when they announced it, baseball is back, the game is back, like the next year, like the game, and it started a little bit late. I think the Cubs, I want to say they played 144 games that year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
it was such a dud when they announced the game was back. It was a huge ass dud.
Yeah, and they're at risk of having maybe not that exact scenario playing out, but like not that far out. And on this note, I just got an email from Bet Online. It's a betting site that asked, when will the first regular season game take place?
Yep.
And the favorite is May at 7-4.
Okay.
And then June 2-1. Then July or later is 5-2. No regular season is actually 5-1. And then April is 11-2. So looks like the May is the favorite here, but
look, they were very close in my mind. So and the players gave up a lot of stuff. So for the owners to get this done, if they want to get it done, it won't take much. It really won't.
Okay. So on that note,
yeah,
I want to say this. Like, there was momentum, and then they changed up the language in that contract, as Ross Stripling said, and all that momentum and all that trust that the PA was building or like gaining in MLB was gone. And trying to regain that trust is going to be a long road. And I don't think a deal is going to happen as soon as it was, or as soon as everybody is thinking it's going to be. This is going to be a lengthy process, in my opinion. And I'm curious when these two sides start negotiations, because it could be a couple weeks, and like that would be really bad. Because
why is Ross Stripling so front and center on this, Bert?
He's a very vocal guy, and he's got his own podcast. He shares thoughts that not many players do, and the PA and the players, they want to make the public aware of just like what MLB and what Rob Manfred is doing. And how they're acting behind the scenes, because we've had a look at this like no other negotiation ever. And it's helped the public rally around the players here. And I don't blame Stripling or any other player for being vocal about it, because if I was in their shoes, I'd do the same thing.
Yeah, he's an interesting cat too. He's got a bachelor's degree in finance from Texas A&M. He's a licensed stockbroker. Me and Stripling have one thing in common, Bert, that I don't think you have, is that we both have passed the Series 7 exam, which was the hardest damn test I've ever taken in my life, and I cried when I passed it.
Well, congratulations, Carm. I'm proud of you.
5 hours, 2-parter. You started the test in the morning. They sent you out for lunch. I remember my brother calling me at lunch after the morning session. How you doing? I'm like, I'm failing this. I'm going to fail this test. And I passed, and you needed a 70. I got a 74. And they're like, she
passed the flying colors.
They score it right in front of you. And she's like, you passed 74. And I was like,
oh, we need to cut that clip up, and I need to make it a gift, please, Sean.
She's like, are you going to cry? I'm like, I think I am. Thank you so much. But it's interesting. Like, this is a guy with a financial background. Yeah, apparently he's trades stocks during the season while he's trading baseball at night. Stock, the market during the day. So interesting cat who is probably understanding the finances perhaps in a little deeper depth than some of his teammates. Go Ross. Bert, just hang in there, buddy. I'll tell you when to hit the panic button. It's not yet. It's fine. It's March 2nd. We don't need baseball on March 31st. There's going to be 30 degrees out there. And yes, for Brewers fans, you could have watched a game inside of what used to be Miller Park and whatever the hell they call it now, American Family Insurance, whatever the hell it is.
American Family Field, yeah.
Yeah, that thing. So it's bad. It's bad publicity. It's just not a good day for baseball. But if there's baseball May 1, this will be just a little bit of a blip. First labor shortage in 27 years. 1 month of missed games. I'll be good. That's fingers crossed over here. That's what we have. I know it's ugly right now. So for my baseball insider peeps out there from the Carm seat, stay positive. Don't freak out. I know the noise, there's a lot of noise, but just relax, chill out, let them figure it out. I think we'll get there.
I do too, but not going to be a quick fix here, Carm. May 1 is a very generous timetable.
Bert, you moved to Phoenix. You're out there. You were supposed to be doing stuff, and now what the hell are you going to do?
Going to that players facility in Mesa. We're going to go say hi to those guys and get their thoughts. We're going to have good content here on the Baseball Insiders, Carm.
Okay, do it. Get one of them to come on the show. Can you get that done?
I mean, anything for you.
All right. I appreciate you.
There we go.
All right, Bert. Good to see you, buddy. Thanks for everybody checking out the Baseball Insiders. Hit that subscribe button on the YouTube / in your podcast listening space. And hopefully we will have I don't know, perhaps even next week, a more positive Insiders to talk about. Fingers crossed on that. We'll see you next time.